that once he's next to Cat. And if not, then it just won't work. It just won't. It's just the offense won't be as good as everyone wants it to be.
Yeah. So what do you see? When is Cat going to be back in your eyes? When do you think?
Oh man, if I had $1 for every time somebody DM'd, emailed, or replied to him, I don't know. No, we don't know. Like, nobody knows. People in the organization don't know.
Exactly. No one knows.
I mean, you guys have been following the team. Your listeners, I'm sure, have been following the team too. They're not exactly transparent with injury stuff. No. And like I have pushed back on the injury stuff and wanting to be transparent and pushing on that. It's hard for somebody like me who's there asking the questions or the other reporters. This feels like a topic that's harder to press on because it is COVID. So for me personally, like, you're asking the questions, but you're not like hammering at it, you know, and trying to be like, well, you know, what's his viral load? Like, no, you know, it doesn't work like that. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's bizarre. I think it's bizarre the way they generally speaking, try and handle that, because I don't feel like that fits this fan base well. I think maybe if you're in a really big market, right? Like you have 1 million fans and you just kind of try and stay very surface level because whatever, that'll work. But here you have such a whittled down fan base that the ones that are very dedicated are the ones who are following all this stuff in great detail and are reading what the injury report says. They're reading every one of our tweets. They're listening, they're reading every article, they're doing all this stuff, and they're parsing through, and they're just going, the fans are going, this doesn't make sense. Why are we doing this? And I don't know. I mean, I've obviously never been on the other side of the equation. I'm biased as a media person who would want more transparency, but it's weird. And related to Cat, I don't know. And it is what it is. They're like, he'll be back at some point. It's not like they're trading him. I don't know. Like, I don't know what else people, I mean, what do people want to know? What should I be asking? What questions would you want answered?
See, that's the thing is, like, I think all these, like, just fans with like fan pages and little podcasts kind of like us, and we're like, I think there's just so much speculation that when it gets out, like, everyone's so like, oh, like Cat's gonna, we got a little 2-day break here, he's gonna come back on this day, and then when he doesn't, everyone gets really mad. And it's there's just so much false information. I saw someone with 10,000 followers say they thought Cat was going to be back for the last game against the Spurs. Like, it's you can't speculate on any
Who
of that.
Who says that?
Yeah, like, exactly. These are just nobodies that have no.
That was not going to be back.
Yeah, no.
Well, here's okay. So here,
that's where the frustration comes in.
This is what I can answer: is once he is back, whenever that is, and that might have already happened. He's going to need this time to recover in terms of endurance, as Wancho is, right?
Exactly.
As they're saying. So that makes sense. I think that makes sense to all of us. You just had a virus that directly impacts your breathing. You're probably not going to be in very good shape after having that for 3 weeks.
Definitely.
So what I think is weird is it's like, all right, Cat needs to recondition. We all get that. All of us who are approaching this logically get the fact that you have to recondition. We get that with Wancho too. So has that process started? I think that, that's the question, because if it started, a week ago, then maybe it's only another week. If it's 2 weeks of I'm just throwing numbers out there. Like, but if that hasn't started yet, and, he's going to miss, it's going to be 3 more games before he even starts being able to recondition. Now we're talking about, it's been 3 more weeks that he's out. And that's 12 more games. Like that's the big difference. And I don't know. We don't have transparency on that.
Yeah. And that's an interesting thing, because we were talking about Darren Wolfson about that, and he said the exact same thing. So do you think there's a reason that this organization is more non-transparent than others? when it comes to
It's
injuries?
a Houston thing. That's a Houston thing. Back to Daryl Morey days. It's the they're not breaking the rules. These if people have a problem with the way that the Timberwolves are handling this, legally they're not doing anything wrong. These are there are HIPAA restrictions in play. There's all I looked into all this stuff last year when I was like, what in the world? Cat, I thought Cat was day to day. It's been 15 games, and it's one of those situations where things would need to change in the collective bargaining agreement and all that sort of stuff to necessitate more transparency. So it's just the Wolves sliding more on the side of the gradient of wanting to be they're not trying to mislead. They're just trying, from the conversations I've had, they don't want to say the last thing they want is to say somebody's going to be back in 2 weeks and then they're actually back in 4 weeks. Because that's what happens with a lot of injuries, right? It is a timetable. And for one reason or other, that's very important to them, is not to set up a date and then for that player not to be able to come back at that time. So they're playing within the rules. If it were me, I would lean a little bit further on the gradient, but I'm a biased media person.
Exactly. Kind of like the Derrick Rose thing, with his ACL, how the fans thought he was going to be back way earlier, but he wanted to sit out the season. Is that kind of they don't want to put pressure on the players to try to make them come back earlier? Is that kind of
exactly? Yeah, exactly. And because you don't want to. That ends up shaping a narrative on the player.
Makes them
that they're soft or something like that, and really injury timetables are ambiguous. ACLs, perfect example right there, right? You have guys who can come back and you can come back from an ACL and play high level sports in 5 or 6 months. People do that. In the NBA, we almost always see a minimum of 9 months though. And then some guys need 12 months. It is it's a body to body thing. And it's a how much risk do you want to incur by, because the earlier you come back, even if you're cleared, the more likely you are to re-tear it. So
exactly. And I think kind of going off of injuries, I think lesser problem than Cat's COVID was obviously the wrist, which could be obviously a more serious injury. So do you think he'll still have that wrist brace on after this?
That's a good question. It was more like a cast.
Yeah.
I think
club almost
brace. Yeah. Brace undersells it. I don't know. So now how long has he been out? Well, so it was after the second game, which was basically January 1st. So that's now it's been almost 4 or 5 weeks since the wrist injury. It's to recover from that without surgery is 6 to 8 weeks. So I think right now, if he started playing basketball, he would still need more bracing, on that thing. And who knows, maybe that's part of the reason why they're taking this really slow back with the COVID too. They're just
True.
All right, wait till you're 100% from COVID, because that will also correspond with the wrist being back to 100%. I don't know that, but if we're looking for reasons why Wancho's name shows up different on the injury report and why he's wearing a jersey on the sidelines when Cat's wearing clothes, I think that's a natural, connection to make there. But I don't know specifically if he's going to come back clubbed up or not.
Definitely.
So do you